Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by our dear sister. Indeed, strange things do happen in this world. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a woman who is from Zim and I am married. Me and my husband, we are currently staying at this other village. It is quite a remote village, Brother Nashi, but my husband is making a lot of money. He is making more money than the mechanics that you can find in the city or in any town where there are a lot of cars. But the reason as to why my husband is making all of this money, it is because my husband, he is using his charms so as to attract his customers, but he is not attracting these customers in a nice way. When my story started, my husband had left me back home in Chiredzi, that is the village from where we come from. Then my husband, he came to Beitbridge and he started working as a mechanic there. But when my husband told me that I should come so that I can be with him in Beitbridge, this was 4 months later, I expected that my husband, he was going to have his way with me in bed. When we went to bed, I found out that my husband, he was facing the other way around and he was not even interested in making love to me. I got up and I was angry. You know, when a woman has spent so much time without making love to her husband, and if you see that your husband does not want to touch you, you get angry. When I was busy insulting him, I said, show me your manhood. My husband then showed me his manhood, because I was saying the reason as to why you do not want to make love to me. Now I see that here in Beitbridge you have been making love to a lot of ladies here in Beitbridge. You have been buying these prostitutes, so they've given you an STI. That was when he pulled his manhood and he said, you see, I do not have any STI. But he didn't want to give me the reason as to why he was refusing to make love to me. But he could not make love to me because his rituals demanded that he was not supposed to make love to me at that time, since he had started this ritual business. The way that my husband got involved in all of these rituals, he went to this other traditional healer in Beitbridge, and after the traditional healer had lied to him that the charms that he was about to give him, they were not going to demand any blood at all. The only blood that was needed was an once-off thing. So he was told to buy a cow amongst that traditional healer's cattle. So my husband then bought a cow. After he had purchased that cow, he then slaughtered the cow, and he said that after he had slaughtered the cow, he was given a metallic cup, and he knelt down beside the cow that he had slaughtered until the cup was full of blood. He was forced to drink all of that blood. After they had forced him to drink the blood, they then loaded the cow that my husband had slaughtered in the traditional healer's car, and they drove towards the Limpopo River. When they had reached the Limpopo River, that was when they forced my husband to dig. My husband was forced to dig a shallow grave. This was done in the middle of the night. That is where they buried all of those charms, including the cow that my husband had slaughtered. They wanted a place where it is always wet, just close to the Limpopo River. They drove back to the traditional healer's place, and he was told that now he was a ritualist, and he was given the charms that my husband is using right now. The charms that my husband is using, what he does is that late at night, we go into the freeway, and my husband will park his car, the one that he uses when he is towing some of his clients' cars, the ones that would have broken down by the side of the road. He will leave me in the car. Then he will go and stand in the middle of the freeway. When he sees that there is no car that would be coming in either direction, when he is walking out of the car, my husband will be having a charm that will be chewing in his mouth. And after doing that, he will start to spit in his hands, and he will be rubbing his hands against each other, and he will be doing some incantations in the middle of the freeway. Whenever this thing happens, I swear to you, Brother Nashi, that within 30 minutes, if there is a car that will be traveling from South Africa, most of those beautiful cars where you can see that this person has a lot of money, that car, as soon as it will past the place where my husband would have done an incantation, then the car will die down. It does not matter if the car is a Toyota Fortuner, a Ford Ranger, it will break down by the side of the road. I remember this other story that happened. We were waiting for some cars to break down by the side of the road, but what happened next, I could not even understand, because all of a sudden that car stopped. Then my husband started to drive towards the place where that car had stopped. My husband then said that this car's bumper had fallen off. My husband then spoke with that family that were traveling from South Africa, and then my husband said, this is quite a very big job, you have to follow me to the village. My husband then towed that car and we returned back to the village where we are staying. Then the family had to stay with us until my husband had finished fixing the bumper of that car. But that family, they kept on saying, how is it even possible that this car, it is a brand new car, because they in South Africa, they actually got that car via the bank, and it was still a brand new car. You could smell that this car, it is still very brand new, but the bumper just fell off because of the charms that my husband is using. All this time, I didn't know that this is what my husband had been doing. I thought that maybe he's just a lucky man, that whenever we go to the freeway, when we park by the side of the freeway, then all of a sudden a car will just have a breakdown. Only cars that will be coming from South Africa. I just thought that my husband is just a lucky mechanic. But the way that I got to know that my husband is a ritualist, I once received a phone call. This phone call, it was from my husband's sister. She spoke with me and she said, can you please speak with your husband, because I do not know what to do anymore. I have tried to ask for some money from your husband, but your husband is telling me that he does not have any money at all. And I just need some money so that I can go to the hospital with my child. But I was surprised, because from what I know is that my husband, he is always having this bunch of US dollars. And when I spoke with him, he said, no, we do not have any money at all. Then my sister-in-law, one day she called me again and she said, oh, the reason as to why you didn't want to give me money, it is because your husband is a ritualist. We know what your husband did all of these rituals in Beitbridge. And I then went to this other prophet, but this prophet, he stays in another village that is very far off from the village from where me and my husband is staying. I didn't want my husband to know that I had been told that he is a ritualist. That prophet then told me that the reason as to why I didn't know that my husband is a ritualist, it was because there was a time when me and my husband took a bath. My husband then took some of his charms and he poured the charms in the water. When I was bathing, the way that my husband was washing his face, it is quite different from the way that I was washing my own face. So he was actually closing up my spiritual eyes with the charms that he had inserted in the water. Then that prophet said that I want to open up your spiritual eyes. He then took some leaves of what kind of a tree, I do not even know at all. He then made them into a paste and he rubbed them around my eyes and he said, woman, do not wipe them off. I want you to leave my compound and do not turn back until you have arrived at the village where you are staying. Do not look back and do not wipe these leaves from your eyes. I felt as if I was a fool when I got onto the car. People were looking at me because I had these herbs that were all over my face and I was not allowed to wipe them off. When I arrived at my compound, Brother Nashi, the moment that I got into the bedroom, that was when I saw that indeed the prophet, what he had told me, it was nothing but the truth. There was a suitcase, those suitcase that has the wheels. My husband had actually gone to Musina, and when he had gone there, he actually bought that pink suitcase. In that suitcase, that is where I found the charms. These charms, they are quite scary, Brother Nashi, because there is a wheel spanner and there are some spanners that mechanics use. He tied those spanners, including the wheel spanner, with this other red garment. It is this other toy that is inside that suitcase as well. It is also tied with a red garment. So the car that is inside the suitcase, it represents those cars that will be passing through our area. And my husband can control any vehicle with his charms. If you want your vehicle to break down, then you are not going to pass through our area without you having a breakdown. And my husband will be there and he will be waiting to fix your car because he knows exactly what goes on with your car, because his charms are the ones that would have given you a breakdown. When you give him your money, then my husband will place your money amongst his charms. As to why, I do not even know. My husband then returned back from the place where he was drinking beer. He said that he wanted to kill me, but he drove off to this other place. I'm sure that he went to speak with this traditional healer. When he came back, he was really sad. He then said, oh my wife, what have you done? Because now you are going to be punished. I said, how so? Then my husband told me that I was supposed to sacrifice one amongst my kids. If I didn't want to sacrifice one amongst my kids, I had to sacrifice any of my siblings' children, and I am still choosing. Up until today, I have not yet decided, but I have to do this because my husband said if you wait any longer, then the Tokoloshi is going to sacrifice. It is going to choose one amongst our own kids. Blood is needed, Brother Nashi. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sisters. From the blood of a cow to the blood of a human,